Do you have expectations about what success should look like for you? Do you have expectations about what life should look like for you? Do you have expectations about what relationships should be for you? Do you have expectations of what business should look like for you? Do you have expectations about just general success of what life is? Because that is what we're going to talk about in this video. One thing that I've realized is that expectation is good to success. However, expectation can also hinder success, because when we fail to achieve that expectation, we become demoralized to move forward. Now, there are two things that I have discovered from my own experience that I believe is the thing that could hinder you from achieving your goals if you fail to achieve the expectations that you have hoped for. The first thing people do when they fail to achieve that expectation is they ask themselves this first question: why didn't I get it? Now, the first thing people ask themselves is, when they fail to achieve their expectations in life, is, why didn't I get it? Now, I understand that they put a lot of work into what they do. They've sacrificed the time. They've done their work, just like the example I gave you at the beginning of this video about when I failed to get admission into college. Of course, I read my book, I did the work, I did all that I could to get admission into college, but for some reason I could not. And I began to ask myself, why didn't I get it? Now, I think this is a very lousy question to ask yourself, because when you say, why didn't you get it, you assume that you have to get it. There is an assumption that no matter what, you have to get it. But let me ask you another question. Have you always gotten everything you wished out of life? That's absolutely no. Because for the fact that you did what you need to do, for the fact that you did the work, for the fact that you're a good person, that doesn't mean that the expectations that you hope to get will come by. So instead of asking, why didn't I get it? Why not ask, how can I get it next time? Because when you ask, why didn't I get it, you're speaking from the ego. You think you should get it. There is an underlying assumption that you should have gotten whatever it is that you want out of life. But we all know that for the fact that you've done all that you need to do, that doesn't mean that you will get the exact expectations that you have. That's the first thing I want you to think about. So as you plan your walk in life, as you pursue that dream, as you create that goal, remember that even though you've done everything that you needed to do, you've put in the work, you got a coach, you did all that you could, that doesn't mean that you will achieve the exact expectations that you have. So instead of asking yourself, why didn't I get it? Rather ask, how can I get it better? Because why didn't I get it is a very lousy question, and you ask, it comes from an egoistic perspective. But when you ask yourself, how can I get it next time? That's being humble. That's being acknowledging that life has a way of making things work. Now, the second thing I notice that people do when they fail to achieve their expectations in life is they say, is something wrong with me? When they fail to achieve the expectations that they have hoped to get, they say, is something wrong with me? Now, back to my previous example about how I failed to get entrance into college or university. After a while, I think after the third year or fourth year of my failure to get admission, people began to ask me, Laken, is something wrong with you? Even my family began to ask, is something wrong with you? And I began to ask myself, is something wrong with me? Because when we fail to achieve the expectations that we have hoped to get, we begin to ask ourselves, is something wrong with me? Is something wrong with me? And that is a very bad way of asking yourself about the dreams that you have hoped to achieve, about the goals that you have hoped to achieve. Because remember, for the fact that you did everything you needed to do, for the fact that you put in the work, for the fact that you had a coach, for the fact that someone is mentoring you or someone mentored you, for the fact that you did all the training, for the fact that you put the 10,000 hours, that doesn't mean that you would get the exact expectations that you have hoped for. So don't ask, is something wrong with you? Because there's nothing wrong with you. It's just life. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just life. So when you remember these two things, as you begin to work hard on the goals you have in life, as you begin to work hard on the dreams that you have in life, always remember that even though you fail to achieve the exact expectations that you hope to get, it doesn't mean that something is wrong with you. It just means that maybe life refused to give it to you at the time that you asked. And that is my message for you this week. I want you to begin to look at every aspect of your life, everything that you've worked on, or the things that you're working on now, some that you have a very high expectations of, that you've thought, you know what, no matter what, I'm gonna get this. Remember that sometimes you might not get it, and when you don't get it, don't ask, why didn't I get it? Rather ask yourself, how can I get it next time? That's a better question. The second thing, don't say, is something wrong with me? Just remember that maybe life just refused to give it to you at the time that you asked. If you like what I've shared with you this week, remember to share this with a friend, and always go out every single day to live fully, to love across all differences, to learn all you could learn, and to leave a legacy.